Hello, everyone, and welcome to Heaven's Gauntlet Finals. We are back. Apologies there for some technical difficulties. So, returning back to what we were saying there are going to be signups happening immediately after this game. They've already begun, and the signups do end on the 4th of March. League starts next day, March 5th. Make sure you're checking it out. It's a very fun league to participate in, and it's got, like Ztan said, a very makes it a bit distinct amongst all the riffraff amongst you. But that being said, as we get Z-Tan into these picks and bans, what are we expecting to see?
Well, with Bake Kujira banned, you're probably going to see some of your solo lane picks are going to be prioritized. Bologna, Osiris have been just absolute top of the meta here for a while. Hachiman, we've seen God since last season actually. Going all the way into this one, he's been a huge priority pick. Um, Mid lane, probably looking around the Toth, Kukulkan, support Sobek, Athena have been very valued. So looking to see probably a few of these banned out and maybe some of them make it through.
Absolutely, and it's always an interesting case when we combine the fact that, like you said, we have some staying power as far as some of the gods that have been meta for quite a long time, and you also combine that with the fact that it's a best of three. What do you think changes when you don't have that room to experiment, get a bit wild with the picks?
Well, some teams, some players, they like to lean more into the comfort picks in the high stakes games, and you have other teams that are going to play just straight according to the meta. So we're going to have to wait to see what kind of players these teams are.
Very true, and you have to maybe wonder if it's a question of leadership. You have Control Alt Eat on the side of A&M Maroon being their fearless captain. They joined up mid-season and have just been absolutely killing it since then, made quite the reputation for themselves, but they're up against quite the stacked roster themselves. Wingman's sorry-ass team, don't let the name fool you. Soulless Whisper has done a fantastic job leading them across the entire season. They've been first to third all season long and have only lost a handful of games. So it's certainly some stiff competition here. And you have to wonder, like you said, maybe how these players individualistically are going to stack up in terms of their comfort picks, or maybe they're just going to decide to look for some wily new options here as this meta got shaken up so heavily in season 11. But only have to wait to see what goes on in the P's and B's.
Yeah, I mean, in a best of three, you have one game to experiment. You've got that first game. You can do your testing the waters. You can make your weird picks or your meta picks or whatever you want to do. But by that game two, everyone is going to be locked in to their exactly what they're going for.
Exactly. And you just really have to make sure that you're also able to pilot that with confidence and that even if you're playing something comfortable for you, the rest of your team is also comfortable slotting in alongside it. This is, after all, of course, a 5v5 game. There's no I in team. You got to make sure that everything you're doing is going to have good synergy. And sometimes that can be even more important, especially in this meta where you have those teleporters opening up minute 8 out the gate. Anyone can just come and gank you. You need to make sure that coordination is on lock.
Yeah, that teleporter's been an interesting addition to the game. I haven't seen a lot of really wild stuff come from it yet. I'm waiting for some of these higher tier games, higher tier players like the ones we're seeing now. I'm kind of anxious to see what we're gonna see those used for, because you pop up on the map, on the mini map, right? As soon as you like go into the teleporter, so people can see you coming. But sometimes you're pushed so far up lane that it's irrelevant.
That's a really fair point here. As we see us going into the P's and B's, you have to wonder if that might affect those highly prioritized solo picks. Like you mentioned, sometimes it can really be quite the boon to those more immobile gods, the fact that you just have the option to go coast to coast, globe-trotting, wherever and whenever you so please. But as we get into our first bans, a Wheelix going to be the first taken off the map.
That's she's an excellent assassin. Assassin's kind of feeling the pain of the loss of the in-kit flat pin with the class passive. A Wheelish great counter matchup, especially if you're planning on playing something that, a team that has a lot of leaps, escapes, stuff like that. With them banning the Wheelish first, they could be looking for an on her here.
Very fair point. It does a bit indicate the direction that we might see them going in here. And you have to wonder if for Wingman sorry ass team, if that might be overplaying your hand a little bit, kind of showing immediately off the gate what you're afraid of if they're going to be investing in a heavy leap team. But to be fair, if they are indeed going the way of that on her, they do have first pick, so they very well could just decide to lock that one in. But when you mentioned the fact of solo versus carry, which one we're prioritizing, where does your opinion fall on? Should we get damage or defense like we see there?
Oh, those were some fast lock-ins there, man. Yikes.
Indeed.
They took that Athena and then immediately the Hachi Bologna. I think we've got about 30-40% of the gods I mentioned at the beginning there. Um, Athena obviously heavily prioritized due to global presence, great ult, very sustainable CC. Um, Gilgamesh.
Haven't seen that guy in a little bit there. What do we think that offers potentially as we see it locked in the Uller pick? Okay, I'm kind of loving this already. Gilga, what does that offer against the Bologna in the solo lane?
Not really pressure. You're not gonna really out pressure the Bologna. Gil does have a better kind of team fight ult than you're gonna see out of Bologna. The Eagles rally is decent. It does provide a stun and a jump, but the Winds of Samash does so much if it's well placed into a fight.
Yeah, could certainly be the big ultimate they're looking to just get someone into a fight. And with the Athena, you have very good leaps here on both the Uller and Gilga. Seems like the Awilix ban was certainly done with purpose. They really wanted to make sure they could just dive in and cause problems instantly. But if you dive in, you risk yourself not having any escape as Ares joins the opposite side.
Yeah, and what I'm seeing from this Maroon team here so far, just with the Ares, the Bologna, we're seeing dive. We're seeing I'm going to get into that back line and I am going to try and make that back line not exist. And quickly.
And yeah, that's going to be an interesting case of what then you decide to counter pick in as far as your mid goes. Do you opt for just trying to damage their way out of that bad situation, or do you opt for something that's very safe, has some good escapability, potentially something like maybe a Tiamat, or something that has some good CC immunity on some abilities? Or do you just decide to try to counter fire with fire, burst down the areas before you can even get that ultimate off? It's a difficult question. How do we think they're going to go, Zitan?
You definitely could look for something like the Tiamat here, maybe the Scylla, an Ikchel?
Why not here? Might just get some Mayan love over here as the shock is also being looked at. Does leave some questions then, in that case, for where the Gilga is going to be heading. Is this a Gilga jungle?
Absolutely. That's he's not as good in the solo lane. He can play it, but where that god shines right now is definitely in the jungle. Or, maybe my man's doing a Sino impersonation here, and that's a chalk jungle.
Why not, man? I mean, make it rain, get some chocolate rain going here. But Ixchel is still being hovered, a bit of hesitance on whether or not you want that to be what matches up against the Morgan Le Fay that Maroon has picked up here. How do we feel like she ends up comparing to the Witch?
Well, I don't think it's a matter of how she compares to the Witch. I think the reason that they're hovering this lock in here is because into a heavy dive comp, Ikchel is a dangerous pick to play. She does have the movement speed stem, she does have the healing on the ult and her 2, but she doesn't have any real way out. So I'm presuming that they're contemplating this pick here because of the safety of it.
It is a bit of an answer to that Ares dive that we were talking about earlier. You blink in, you hit the no escape, and suddenly you're face to face with the great end. That CC immune channel that lasts for so long and provides Ixchel not only just tons of damage, provides their team tons of healing, but provides tons of safety as well. Still
Yeah.
considering it though, we're really thinking hard about the Ixchel, but at this point, can't imagine it's going to be anything else. And indeed, seems that we will be locking that one in. The comp has been set for Wingman's sorry-ass team, but certainly not a sorry-ass comp. What are our thoughts as we are met with an Erlong Shen on the other side?
Yet again, more dive. Um, you know, I like I like the dive comp from the A&M Maroon team. You know, this Bologna, Ares, and Erlong Shen are going to be extremely difficult to deal with on the back end. However, Wingman's team does have excellent counter dive. The Athena ult is going to be able to keep somebody alive. That taunt is going to be able to pull them off. Chalk's ult has that massive silence radius. You have a good potential for counter dive here. So I think this game's really going to come down to whose team can play their comp better because they're both doing it well.
I have to agree. I'm really liking the counter initiation and initiation that are present on both sides. Should we see that Shock maybe invest in a Blink in their second relic? They also have the exact same potential to dive that backline with a massive Storm Call and just absolutely wreak havoc. So it really might just depend on who gets that early advantage to decide who's going to be on the punch and who's going to be giving out the counter punch. Early game wise, Zetan, who do we think's got the edge?
Well, you know, mid lane, I'm gonna have to give that to the Morgan Le Fay. Ixchel, neither of their clear is great by any stretch of the imagination. I guess we'll see how the Erlong and the Gilgamesh help with that. Solo lane, Bologna should outclear Chalk pretty handily with that bludgeon. Duo lane, Uller has good clear, but Hachi is just so strong right now. We are kind of
Yeah.
seeing Bluestone Hunters make a resurgence. You know, your Uller, your Morticarus, your AMC. So we'll see how that goes. I've been hearing stories that the Bluestone Hunters are just obnoxiously strong right now. So we'll have to see how this Uller does in the matchup.
We have indeed heard rumors on the wind of that, but let's see if the legend ends up living it up. Uller is definitely an interesting one. Haven't really quite seen him for some time other than in some pub ranked games. What do we think he offers in terms of just general contribution to the team? He's going to have a hard time against that Hachi, but when those rotations come in, big team fights, is it going to end up proving its value, you think?
I mean, Uller has always been a god that at high levels of play, he's a very high execution god. If you are not hitting 80 to 90% of your axes and your abilities, you're not doing anything on him. So at a high level of play, he's always been fairly valued and good. So you know, with a game like this, with Tainsy locking in the Uller, I assume he can play it. So
Gotta be hoping.
you know, he definitely brings the one-on-one fight damage. Uh, you know, into the jungle gank, stuff like that. It's going to be hard to dive this Uller if he's hitting his axes. Um,
It's going to be interesting to see if indeed it's going to be a question of that hitting the skill shots, right? That's going to be so pivotal. Those rain of arrows, it can really provide you though, especially if A&M Maroon end up maybe diving a bit too deep, try to retreat off the back end. I want to see some nice clean snipes, some clean rain of arrows pickups here from Tainsy, but it's going to be an interesting question of whether or not that's going to be possible here. And now, seeing as we are getting into game, everyone's prepping up for this ultimate showdown here in the finals. I don't know, man. Just overall Z-Tan. We talked about early game and what these comps are going to need to maybe do to succeed, but overall, who are we swinging our edge to just looking at the initial picks?
I'm gonna have to look at A&M Maroon here. If this dive comp is executed well, I don't see Wingman's being able to pull ahead. You know, both are going to scale decently into the late game, but Maroon have that Hachi. They've got the Ares, they've got the Bologna. All of these just really strong picks right now. I've got to give it to A&M Maroon.
I'm honestly gonna give you a bit of a counterplay just because I really do like the Uller pick and I'm really hoping to be well executed. You can certainly catch Control Alt Eat a bit off guard, and if you knock the captain out of their saddle, literally with that mounted archery, then you could find yourself in a great position here on this god to just mollywop the competition once you start rotating in. But that's not to say that A&M Maroon don't have some threats on their side. You're looking to Ferendo to make sure that you can pull off some big no escapes, burn beads, burn big CC immune ultimates in ways that don't negatively affect your team. If you're getting a storm call off Skipper Cool every single no escape, even if you don't pull back in the shotgun, you're still doing dividends for your team.
Absolutely. You know, we talked about it in the P's and B's. Like the counter engagement potential from Wingman's team is kind of absurd. You know, however, in this meta where hunters are doing so much of your late game damage, I just, how do you fight an Erlong Shin and a Bologna as a hunter? The answer is you don't.
With difficulty, indeed. So we're gonna have to make sure that you're keeping very safe for that.
You know, I think I would like to see Chalk pick up something looking like maybe a Midgard or a Relic Dagger coming out of this Athena. You know, some attack speed debuffs, some slows. Because you're gonna need it fighting into Erlong, Bologna, and Hachi moving into the later game.
Certainly going to have to side here, make sure spanked up, play against spanked up, because they certainly will be bringing the aggression. Now, as far as where we expect these junglers to start moving on over, where do we expect our attention to be first directed to? Where should we be looking for these first ganks?
Well, a lot of the games that I have been seeing recently kind of end up with early ganks and pressure moving into the duo lane. It's usually one or the other. It's going to be duo and it's looking like it's going to be mid. Some of the junglers are wanting to hit level 3. Doing it at 2. You know, it just depends on the person. And what's so interesting about this season is with the lack of the SPL,
damage. Oh my god, one hit left, but already still being put on the back end for the Ixchel. Cleopatra looking to be in a bit of trouble, almost manages to get the kill on a freezing fantasy. That would have certainly been a dream, but unfortunately, WMSAT not quite able to study up enough to get that first blood.
Yeah, that Ixchel combo, especially in the early game, you gotta be careful with it, man. You know, you get hit by that root, followed up with the 1, and you're, in a minute into the game, you're in deep crap.
Yes, absolutely. You got to make sure you're keeping it on the fridge, because this Morgan Le Fay is going to be pivotal. Going to be doing so much damage with those consuming powers late when you see a nice pin, a nice no escape put on to the backs of WMSAT. So don't want to be caught getting farmed yourself, just want to do some farming of your own. But now Wavy trying to get some damage over here in this dual lane, makes an appearance, waves hello to the Athena, but it's going to be a bit of a nothing burger for now.
Well, maybe not.
Okay, I get. You know what? Call me a liar, why don't you? Wingman's ghost indeed going to be sent to the spectral realm as a nice blink reverse engage, going to pick that one up. Z-Tan, what do you think the logic was there for the Athena to stick around?
Uh, you know, maybe she didn't expect Maroon to come back.
But maybe might have wanted to expect a reverse tank on the other side. Bologna underneath some pressure, but I guess so. Wingman Ghost is getting a bit too confident for your own good, and you don't want to be seeing that from your captain. Hopefully that's going to be a bit of a lesson to put you back in your place. And now, we're seeing as this Gilgamesh going to try to put Bologna in her place. Indeed, not going to get that steal quite off. Has to unfortunately use the beads, and there's the Eagles rally. Put some good damage, but Shock is here to provide the body blocks, but also might be providing the sacrifice. Not going to be quite killed off just yet. Skipper Cool there. Fantastic job to assist his teammate to live, but now unfortunately might pay the price in their own jungle. Secures their own mana buff and actually manages to sweep up the kill with a nice flourish of the axe. Skipper Cool makes the scoreboard even.
Yeah, great counter there. You know, they burned the Eagles rally. Everything they had kind of chasing that into the solo lane. And when they went for that blue buff invade, Chalk said, hey, I've still got something.
And unfortunately, Bologna's got the hammer for him. The Skipper Cool gonna be absolutely mollywopped by that bludgeon. Great awareness as well from the members of A&M Maroon, recognizing, hey, they still don't have Athena ultimate. You don't have the Defender of Olympus online to assist Shock with that damage mitigation. Now, as Athena ticks over to level 5, have to be maybe a bit more careful, but 4 minutes in, the scoreboard reads 1-2.
Yeah, Bologna making the Phalanx pickup here for her first item. You know, you've been seeing a lot of this item in the solo lane for a good bit now. You know, even if you're not fighting into an auto attack solo, it's still a decent stat stick as far as it goes. It's got great physical protections. I think it's 50. You know, it's got some health, got a good passive if you're, you know, if you're being hit by auto attacks from the enemy solo laner, which Chalk does need to do to stack up his passive. You know, everything around you gets tankier, you get tankier. It's pretty solid.
And we're finding that out right now as Skipper Cool underneath the pressure right now. So much damage coming out right now from Super Deathfang. Do we expect that matchup to just remain the exact same? Is Shock going to be under the Bologna's heel for all of eternity?
Yeah, you can't.
1 second. I'm just seeing some of that damage going down here in the mid lane. There's going to be your ultimate end brought to you by Pick as well as Cleopatra, but now some damage being put on here on the Tainsy left side. No escape. Will it indeed be a prophet of your doom? Brought down a low as well. The chains doesn't have the flame smash. Manages to escape with a sliver in the winds of Shamash. Going to put Wave in the ground instead. That's an unfortunate reverse. The counter punch caught him cleanly on the chin. They're going to keep going on with it. They're just exchanging haymakers. Cleopatra wandering on over. Going to give themselves a nice speed buff to go, go, go. But will they find the damage to bring down the captain? One more hit will do it. A big drop kick, but it's not enough just yet. They managed to get away with just barely enough. Maroon's looking black and blue, but still survives.
Both hunters in that fight, man. I don't, you know, we ended up transitioning to the fight around the purple buff with the counter engage, but Uller had no health there at the beginning of that. Had that purple buff chasing him down to the tower. I was afraid we were about to see a PvE kill for a second there. You know, Hachi really low on the back end of that. Just so close for both sides. Just don't quite have the damage online yet to secure some of these kills.
And it wasn't even for a want of execution there. That was actually a brilliant gank at first by Maroon, and then a brilliant counter move there by SAT. Try to put on the fritz. They did get the kill onto Wavy though, which does throw the kill board into their favor now. And Skipper will manage to secure a nice little camp. And now 7 minutes in. The scoreboard does read 3-2, but gold does not spell the same story. A&M Maroon, a nice little hefty 1,000 gold lead, but by no means is that an indication of where the game will go. We still have plenty of time left.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of time left, and you know the solo lane should be cooling down right about now. Uh, you know, moving into the level 9, 10 territory. That's the point where Chalk just shouldn't die. Right, you've got the clear now online in his 1, got a point or 2 into his 3.
Oh
Oh,
no. That's just unfortunate. He's just standing there thinking, agog, what just happened to me? That's one of those cases. That's a play that keeps you up at night, staring at your ceiling, thinking, why am I even alive? Cleopatra doesn't have to ask that question, though. Brought down by Freezing Fantasy, and now the Winds of Shamash is going to bring down bring down Perenum, thanks to the help of Pansy. He's going to put down a little mounted archery, a nice 180 shot behind your back, but Control-Alt-Delete can't do anything to save the support. It's a 1-for-1, different lanes, but still going to be a bit of an exchange. That's an unfortunate move there by Ferendum, though.
yeah, that was also a really heads-up play from Peaks. You know, Hachi only had about 50 seconds left on the cooldown of speeds when he made that gank. So going into that gank, he knew, you know, we're either forcing the mounted archery or he's dead.
Yeah, and that's a brilliant play. Gonna have to keep that on lock for the next time you're able to burn beads. You might be able to get something out of it. Wavy gonna have to burn his own relic there. Blinks away from Peaks, who's just looking a tad too scary for now. But Cleopatra and Peaks on the offensive, gonna try to get some camps. Unfortunately, missed the red buff right there, but they want more. They want some blood. Missing the water. As we see Freezing Fantasy caught me some big damage. Here's advance, not gonna quite catch the mark, but Peaks taking that damage rather nicely. The Sigil not going to do quite that much, but at the very least, Maroon secure their own buff. Does leave room, though, for SAT to invade some more camps.
Yeah, and, you know, one thing to note here is the jungle timers are a little bit offset for both of these teams here, so the invade potential is pretty high at the moment. You know, with the timers being offset like that, you can make invades into your enemy jungle while your camps are not up. So you're not even losing farm. Really great play.
Yeah, they're making sure to keep heads up. Like you said, it does seem that SAT have a really good map awareness and really good awareness of their opponents and their timers on relics. Going to be incredibly important to keep in mind, especially if they do decide to take the lead foot on some of these engagements. Skipper, I don't know how this one's gonna end for you, buddy. You might have the rain dance, but she's got the Scourge. Some decent damage already on a Skipper Cool, and that's just gonna be the same story for quite some time. But here's some damage being put now onto the Hachi. Does have the mounted archery to provide some safety, and the rotation coming in 2-man strong from Maroon. But it seems that yeah, Wingman does seem to understand what's going on. They see the plays. They have the vision, in fact, brilliant vision, across that left side to ensure their own safety.
Speaking
we're going back in? Seems that we got the rotation here from Peaks, and that's going to be what emboldens them for more. There's a no escape. You finally hit that one, didn't you? Brings back 2. Good damage here on the Wingman Ghost, but being the Athena quite tanky, Pansy can't say the same. Drop down to low, low, low. I don't know if you can escape out of this one, my friend. Hits the axe though for good damage. Peaks gets 1 off the back. Control-Alt-Delete does take out Pansy, but he's looking low himself. Friend of Olympus gonna crash down on no one, but it's good just for the traveling miles. A nice drop kick to bring the Ares back in the midst, but they got what they came for. Control-Alt-Delete goes down.
Yeah, and that's a good trade for Wingman's team, no matter how you look at it. You did lose your hunter, but you got their carry, you got their jungle. It's a decent trade. Athena ult was expended there, so we can look for that to be down. We're at 11.5 minutes now. Beacon's going to be coming up, so that is kind of a big ult to have down on your side for this first Beacon fight.
Yeah, a bit unfortunate on that end, but doesn't seem like we're posturing too much over there just yet. The solo's going to probably remain in their little slugfest for now, but the Beacon does open up, and the supports rotate on in. Unfortunately, Athena having to take the long way. Gilgamesh already on the scene as we see these souls just continue to slug at it. This could be a kill here. Going down, Skipper Cool sees blood, he sees red, but I don't know, you have the Eagles Rally still available, could be in some trouble here. And actually, SAT does manage to grab themselves the beacon. Scourge expended on a Skipper Cool, and they agree to call that one a draw. Seems to be a bloodless secure of the beacon, surprisingly, for SAT. Was expecting Maroon to maybe have a bit more in the tank, knowing that Athena ult was down, but deciding to back off. What are our thoughts on that, Z10?
Sometimes that's the call. You know, I'm sure they oh, no.
What happened? You were doing so well. So unfortunate there. Bologna does actually manage to take a trip to the fountain, courtesy of Skipper Cool. After having so much pressure afforded, they're just unfortunately going to get upended. But now we're seeing a big amount of damage here in the mid-jungle. Wavy underneath all the pressure from this big shell. Wingman able to escape outside of it, but the consuming power going to hit too. Big damage there. Secured by the Morgan Le Fay. Freezing Fantasy manages to take out the opposition. Cleopatra is taken out. Control Alt Eat picks peaks. And now Wingman Ghost is looking to be underneath the same pressure. That phalanx won't save you quite yet, my friend, but Wavy, with that health bar, not quite feeling confident in that ability to chase because Tainsey's in the back.
Yeah, Tainsey thought about it. You could see him standing there. He thought about
Licking
it.
his lips.
You know, probably a good call not to go in 1v4. It does look like Maroon are moving on this Pyromancer. Great call there. You know, you've got 2 down on the opposing side. Oh!
What? What? Oh no! They must have enlisted the Pyromancer's help there from SAT because now they're in a sorry-ass position compared to Wingman, who's stepping up with full health. Wow, Pyro's getting kills, dude. Pyro's got more kills than most of the players in this game.
Double kill.
That's crazy. I'm surprised the stat marker didn't pop up, and now it's going to embolden SAT try to step up to their own test here with that Gold Fury. Hopefully you can do a better job than my friends on Maroon, because my god, that's a sorry showing. I don't want to be seeing that happen for your objective secure, as SAT indeed get the first objective.
Currently, Pyromancer has the best KDA on the map.
Big fact, staying strong here, and Control Alt might be seeing his KD go down a bit worse. Aegis and being expended, and that's all Peaks wanted, but now might be in some trouble yourself should the chain hit. And he's going to be supported there by Tainsey. Some good reverse damage, but the no escape going to hit the 2 tanky targets. But will there be enough damage to follow it up? Might be now. 9th Pattern Blessing going to bring Peaks back in the midst of the fight. We got a taunt of our own, but it's not going to be good enough. Wavy going to find himself getting the Pyromancer experience, a nice double kill of his own.
Yep, Tainsey said, no, I'm out.
I think I'm good. I've seen what that can do. Unfortunately, just oh, she maybe wants to play a little bit. Gonna be missing a chain. That could be unfortunate. And now with the turns end, going to be putting on some decent damage. Not quite enough though. Without the order to follow up, Tainsey a bit off the back end. Freezing Fantasy waiting in the wings. You might want to be careful if you step up too much. You might get clapped yourself. Indeed is finding that out the hard way. Consuming power consumes the life of Cleopatra with a bit of help from Verendum. We'll give you that kill, my friend, at a drop in the bucket. AM Maroon, after an unfortunate showing against the PvE targets, do manage to put some kills on the board.
Yeah, I feel like that was a bit of a miscommunication from Wingman's team there. You know, Ichel came over, made the rotation, dropped her root, got good damage off, dropped the ult. I feel like she was expecting Uller to, you know, be there to follow up on that, and, you know, they just weren't on the same page for it.
And that's the coordination that you really need, especially if you're playing that counter-engaged team that we talked about. If A&M Maroon are stepping up, if their foot's on the gas pedal, you need to make sure you know when to cut that emergency break, or that you know when you're putting up a resistance. So hopefully going to see a bit more tight communication here from the members of SAC as they attempt to try to stem the bleeding now, because 16 minutes in, it's now 7-9 in AM Maroon's favor, and the gold lead has only been extended about 4,000 to their name.
Yeah, and, you know, it's a game of objectives, it's a game of growing a lead, and they are doing that so far. You know, it's not a massive lead yet, but your team's leaning a little more. Ouch.
Exactly, and it seems we're leaning now into killing Wavy once again. Peak's gonna get the nice pick there off as the Stygian Beacon opens up. Have to imagine that spells good things here for SAT. Ares is gonna wander, blunder into 3, gets the no escape off, but there's not enough follow-up there for my friend. The wind is Shamash, he's blinded, blundering around, taken down by Skipper Cool, who's made the rotation on over. Blunder decides to take that aggression on the tower instead. Beacon's gonna be a foregone conclusion for SAT, but the tier 1 will fall as well.
Yeah, not a lot you can do about that. You know, Maroon just kind of got out-rotated there. Chalk showed up. He did his Chalk thing, and it did not end up well. Maroon gonna have to be a little tighter on the counter rotations here.
Oh, we're seeing a rotation right now, in fact. Speeds are going to be expended to ensure the Dragon Flight can send you back to the Fountain. Eagles rally, though. Defender of Olympus is only going to bring another target for Super Deathfang to give the big hammer to. Fantastic work there to space out that CC appropriately from A&M Maroon. Brings down the Eek Shell once again.
Yeah, and, you know, the thing about this Bologna build here, you've got the Phalanx.
Please do it right, guys.
The Kins.
There we go.
No one died this time. We take
Clap
those.
it up. Clap it up for A&M Maroon. Clap it up, everyone. A nice pyro bomb in their pocket, and also with no corpses to carry back. But sorry, Z-Tank, continue what you were saying.
No, you know, this Kinsai that Bologna's got in the build, Warrior's Axe is presumably going to turn into Axe of Animosity. So she's going to be doing percentage health damage and extra true damage based upon her health pool. This Bologna can potentially even be dangerous to the tanks, not just the back.
Oh, this could be a dangerous situation here for Peaks. Unfortunately, already has to expend his hero's advance, and they're going to try to follow it up with the mounted archery, but the blink to match is going to grant enough space there for Peaks. That was good awareness that if he didn't use that relic, he was dead. And now this Fury might be next on the chopping block. Not too many members here up to step up just yet, but now less than quarter health is going to be ultimate onto Peak there. Blink on in to try to get some follow-up damage. Good damage, in fact, onto Ferendum. Ares might be the first to fall in the back line. You do see Wavy trying to get some reverse off on his own. Cleopatra takes down the Ares. And now the target of aggression is that Primal WM SAT. Take it away. Eagles rally, but the heroes advance the match. Wavy on the follow-up trying to take down the Ola, but a big drop is going to get him away. Super Deathfang takes that Wingman Ghost. Wavy's still in this, though. Not anymore. Cleopatra sweeps them away with a nice flash of the rainbow. A nice double there for the Bologna. Control Alt E takes down Skippy. And Super Deathfang now trying to finish off Peaks with a nice shield bash. Does manage to succeed. Gets the triple. The bludgeon secures the quadra. The tower's too afraid to take him down. Deicide for A&M Maroon.
Man, oh man. So that started as a brilliant counter engage from Wingman's team. Brilliant counter engage. They got the ults off at just the right time. Everything looked great. And then Bologna existed. I tell you, it's atrocious. Been seeing this god since beta, and she's as strong as I have seen her in a long time.
And that's just going to enable A&M Maroon to absolutely mollywop that fight. You were correct. WM SAT securing that Fury with a nice kill on a Ferendum to boot. It seemed like everything was going their way. No escape was off the board, only used on Peaks, but I don't know what happened. It just seems like truly Super Deathfang existed. The fight got a bit too split up for their own good, and unfortunately all the pieces that WM SAT had tried to build up across this 20-minute game just fell apart. Now, 21 minutes in, 11 to 15 reads the scoreboard. Gold lead still not unmanageable. It's at 6K at this point, but with that FG wrapped around everyone's belt here, it's looking rough for WMSAT. What can we do on their side to maybe try to tighten up these fights, get some victories on the board for our side?
Well, you know, those split fights are a field day for Bologna. You cannot 1v1 Bologna. That's not how she operates. You know, especially in the ADC stuff like that. She's got the block stacks, the disarm. You have to fight this Bellona as a group. And so, you know, if you're Wingman's team here, maybe you look to play these fights front to back. Uh, Maybe you just look to take this Bellona out of the fight, because after what just happened, you have to.
I don't know if you have to defend this tier 2, though, especially when Bellona's in the back line, putting damage right from Tainsy's back, less than a quarter. Oh, is already out of it. A shield bash to finish it off. Big no escape, hits 3 there, because the defender Melissa tries to mitigate a bit of that damage. Retreat on back. The rainbow won't save you, only mark the area where your carry fell. And A&M Maroon walk with impunity, take down that left side Phoenix. It's just a foregone conclusion for them that every structure in front of their faces will fall.
Yeah, you know, once again, what was that but pressure from Bellona? She ulted directly into the back line, no fear whatsoever, and the damage she is outputting is just crazy.
And I think they recognize that. They see Super Death being a bit out of position, but only going to drop down a third of their health with all of that investment. That spells just such an unfortunate discouragement for the members of WMSAC, because if you're going to put all of that into Bellona when she's by herself and you can't even do half, what are you going to do when there's 4 other members knocking at your door?
Yeah, and you know, we look at this Bellona build, right? There's the Acts of Animosity I talked about. Kinsai, you've got Archdruid's Fury, so even if you're hitting her, she's now doing even more damage to you. This god is a problem.
This god is a problem indeed, and it's even further jeopardized by the fact that Maroon picked up a nice Oni Fury as well as an Pyro to their name. They've really started to get the hang of getting those objectives without dying. Good for them. But the question is now, SAT, can they get a defense off without everyone dying? I just think, unfortunately, the tier 2 defense was not quite worth the risk you were putting up. And it seems that Tainsy is always the apple of Maroon's eye. What does Uller have to do to stay alive for longer?
Stay away from Bellona.
Good idea.
By any means necessary. You've got to stay away from Bellona. Bellona is kitted to kill hunters. That is what she does. You've got to stay away from her. You've got to stay to the back ends of these fights, and you've got to try and cast in range, because casting into Bellona is not going to work.
And might have to see if Tainsy's able to do that. Maybe he's playing up a bit too good, far up for his own good. And you can see they're posturing to the right. The members of Maroon want him dead. Once again, Brendan, though, in a bit of trouble, takes some nice Phoenix shots for his troubles. And a good knock-up there from the Eek Shell, going to make him take just a bit more damage than he's comfortable with. Who do we need to play through on the defensive end for SAT to ensure that we can shut down a Maroon engagement?
Well, you know, realistically here, you're kind of gonna need to play around like your Winds of Samash and your Chakal the Athenaton. We don't have the greatest Phoenix defense out of the Ikchil. You know, she's not terrible in that sense, but you don't have the same pressure from range that you have, say, Pod, or Khan, or Scylla, something like that. You're going to have to play it through or solo.
And you're going to have to play your heart out now as another FG is secured by Maroon. You saw Gilgamesh trying to push up some minions into that mid-tier 2, but it's not going to do much other than stall the inevitable, as the members of A&M Maroon walk 5-man deep down this right lane. They want the Phoenix this time, and they want kills on top of it. Gonna try to bring in the Bellona for some damage, but look at her, man. She's just too tanky. Consuming power, though, has been used, and it's going to be a huge boon to SAT to ensure they can try to stave off these Marauders in the coming fight.
Yeah, and, you know, we are seeing a lot of healing from Wingman's team here.
And now we're seeing the taunt as well as the no escape. Gonna hit 2 there, but it's gonna be enough damage. have the eggshell ult. It's not going to heal enough, though, for Wingman Ghost. Indeed, will be brought back down to the fountain forcibly by Wavy. Cleopatra managed to get a big kill there onto the Hachi, but might fall yourself to Super Death Bang, the absolute raid boss that Bologna has become alongside the Sigil. Picks up Tainsy with ease. A double, a triple, make it more Super Death Bang. Gonna be fleeing the scene. Skipper Cool does not want a clip on YouTube with this man's name on it, but Super Death Bang's got different plans in mind. Phoenix comes back up, brought back down with the quickness. It might just have to be a delayed quadra you settle for. Not if Wavy's got anything to say about it. A deicide once again the way of A&M Maroon. And the Titan has to unfortunately meet the same fate. You're gonna have to find out what it feels like to feel this Bologna's hand flows around your neck. A pyro bomb drop, just bring some fireworks here for what was an explosive game from A&M Maroon.
My oh my.
Bologna, dude.
So, I have a plan here
Which
for
is?
Wingman's team moving into the match point. Uh, do not let Super Death Fang within 50 miles of Bologna ever again.
Yep. I have to agree with that. I mean, like, Bake's already off, so now we have a new top ban in mind. Like, just get her out of here. Or if you're going to be first pick, maybe secure her on your own side. Why not? But the point is, if you're letting that god anywhere near the hands of Super Death Fang, you're just asking for the set to be a clean sweep.
That was a sickening personal performance at a Super Death Fang there. Don't get me wrong, the rest of the team played well. But just that performance was sickening.
No, man, I'm genuinely like about to vomit at my desk here. It's unfortunate that we saw the counterpunch comp formed very effectively, but just where do we think the execution wasn't really quite coming together, and where do we think they had signs of life on the side of Wingman's team?
Well, the I don't care for the Uller. We look at the damage charts here. He just wasn't able to do much. He wasn't playing the Uller badly. I just don't think that the god is quite what you need here. If I'm Wingman's team here, I'm going to change up the mid and carry picks here. The Ixchel did well, but I think there are gods that could have done better.
Yeah, maybe something that provides you a bit of a better ability to get out of a fight. Obviously, Ixchel does have some good safety with the CC immunity, but like you mentioned at the desk, could not ever really exit if you ever wanted to. And as soon as Bologna enters, you want to exit. You want to be finding the nearest fire escape so you can get the hell out of the way of that god of destruction's path. You had
Yeah.
great elements with your team. You had peaks doing their darndest to set their team up for success. And in fact, I think doing so to great effect, but just unfortunately was not enough to overcome the absolute scourge of the battlefield that was Super Death Fang.
Well, and that's kind of the thing about Ixchel is it's like, yes, you do have the root, you have the knock up on the 2, and you've got the CC immunity in the ult, but none of them move you into another position. So your option for counter engage is stand and fight, which into Bologna and Erlong Shin and Ares, you don't survive.
It's not really an
So
option at all.
yeah, I think you look to change up the mid and carry picks here. Rama is an option for Wingman's team. The Ishtar is an option. On her, for that matter, is an option. You have several hunters on the board that can make use of this crit and attack speed that is just so strong right now.
You did mention that on her when we talked about why you might ban the Wheelix pick, and that's actually a fantastic point. Also does great at making some space for you. Should Bologna dive you, I'm just gonna throw an impale, get
Yeah,
the
just get her the
hell
hell out of
away
there.
from me. It would be a
Get her out of there.
fantastic way to get maybe a bit of breathing room, but that all, of course, assumes that Super Death Fang picks one of these hyper dive in your face gods once again. But with the success we just saw, 10-1, would not be surprised. But that being
There's
said,
no
that's
shot
been
they
game
let him
one
back to
here.
Bologna.
Indeed. No, we're gonna have to just hopefully pray that the members of Wingman's team get their stuff together to make sure these bans are effective and shut down that monstrous solo. But that being said, that was game one here, and in this best of three, only one more on the ropes before potentially this finals is swept up. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with game two in just a moment.